marketing department was saying we actually don't really have a lot of money for marketing and this and that, and actually they're pulling back on the reins, especially in areas which doesn't make any sense to me. They're pulling back in areas that are not doing as well for Xbox, and they're basically cutting it as a lost cause. You know what that makes sense to me? Actually, it does make sense. It makes sense because it's one step closer to becoming a third-party publisher and no longer supporting an Xbox console.
All right, everybody. Welcome back to another Xvault gaming video. Xvault here, and yes, this is your first dose of the weekly Salty Batch files. And as you can see here, Colt may be looking for a new co-host soon enough if they keep talking about the truth and factual things. But that being said, of course, we're here for those salty examples from the Salty Batch file. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump to it. All right, so like I was saying, what we're going to get right to it here. We got to do it. We got to get everybody's favorite catfish, Andrea Piccinini, a.k.a. Joseph Cruz, a.k.a. now rebranded Extension, still putting up the moniker of the catfish. But here we go. I didn't hype Redfall. This is in regards to somebody stating that they were overhyping and talking about Redfall, but now they're backtracking, stating they never hyped Redfall, which this example here, as you can say, tomorrow, Xbox players will be enjoying Redfall while you keep digging reviews. Sorry for you. Laughing emojis, covering the mouth, all that good stuff here. Now this is actually a pretty light example. I know there were other ones. They probably went through and deleted a lot of them. I know because I did personally see these. Yes, they were hyping the crap out of Redfall. The receipts are glorious. The fact that they try to backtrack and act like, no. I can't wait for the next game that they get kind of foot and mouth there where they try to overhype and it ends up just kind of falling flat on their face once again. But this was always a good example, a great example, and just something that really kicked off, I think, the exclusives talk in regards to the Xbox ecosystem as far as what that quality was going to look like. We'll see if anything else is redeemed. We still have some on the fence stating Starfield is a great game, and most of us are like, no, it's boring, it's mid, it's not the worst game we've ever played or had the opportunity of doing anything with whatsoever, but it's just not at the place it should be, right? Kind of like how No Man's Sky is much better nowadays than it was at launch. I could see that eventually happening with Starfield, but waiting on bated breath for games like these, I wouldn't maybe put that foot in the mouth yet, at least quite at this time. So let's keep going on, moving on here. Uni Sensei. Now, this is a gentleman that has been coming a little more to his senses as time goes on. Really a big-time Xbox fanboy, if you will. Didn't like being called an Xbot, if you will. And I can understand that. Because he has spoken some truth. But he does shill. He has shilled in the past multiple times. But I do like an example like this, as you see. Back when consoles mattered, thanks Nintendo for treating your gamers with respect, unlike Xbox. Now he showed a video of all the cartridges and stuff like that and just quality games, and that's essentially what the theme of this is. But it is interesting that some of them are finally having enough. They're finally at a point where they don't mind calling out almost every post what's going on here. I mean, Xbox can have something pretty good, a good announcement or something like that, and Uni will of course hop on and bump that up here, but then he comes back and has posts like these. So again, you're having that push and pull effect quite often. Not as severe as somebody like Kid Smoove or something like that. But regardless, it's interesting that some of these folks, some of these, fans of Xbox are starting to see the actual facts stack up, right? They're seeing it happen in front of their eyes. Some of them aren't willing to go down with that ship. Some of them are, as you can tell. Many are, as the examples just never end. So that's the interesting part. But yes, Nintendo has always stuck by the true roots of gaming, of physical media, of this, that, and the other. And I do respect that as well. And that's why I don't pick on Nintendo nearly as much, if at all. I will say a few things here and there. But ultimately, they're about the games, whether they're overpriced, whether their hardware is, up to par or whatever the case is. They're selling. They're selling their consoles, their hybrid handhelds, their games, everything in between. So they're doing something right. You can't fault a company if they're doing something right, which is succeeding as a business and making consumers happy. But let's go on to our next example here now. Clobril. we got to do some damage control here, right? I've received different feedback on the term I use for day one with Game Pass games since the tier change. So now we have to re-establish the lingo here, folks. So let's make this a collective decision. You decide how we move forward. We have to make this a collective decision. Number 1, day 1 with Game Pass Ultimate Console PC, or option 2, day 1 with Game Pass, referring to the latest changes not only in the price increases, but the fact that day 1 games are only available right now, or will be shortly at the time of this recording. They will be available day 1 games, first party games, only on Game Pass Ultimate. So of course, as you can see the options here, thanks lads. Option 1, 57%, option 2, 43%. So clearly, this is the interesting dynamic. This is actually pretty close. I know you may not think it's close, 43 and 57, but it's actually pretty close. A lot closer than I thought it would be. I thought it was going to lean one way or the other. Either option A, where they're going to shill and be like, nah, I understand Game Pass Ultimate's value. I understand the tier, and that's what we need to do. It's okay, whatever Xbox does. Keep raising those prices. Keep putting limitations on what this pro-consumer movement is, what Game Pass is supposed to be about. It's okay. Keep charging us more. We understand. And then you got, of course, option B, which is like, no, we still want stuff for cheaper. We want that pro-consumer deal. Please give it to us on all tiers of Game Pass. Please. Thank you. The end of story, right? But you know, with option B, here's the thing. I mean, both can be right at this point in time. And this is why I find it interesting it is so close. Because, again, option 1, it makes sense that it does have to be in the highest tier because they're not gaining any subscribers to the significant margin that they're trying to do. They've missed that goal 3 years in a row now. Something's got to change. So guess what? The price changes are, the tier subscriptions are going to change a little bit. Stuff like that, but you have to make those changes. That's what happens when they're not garnering those subscriptions. They said everything's fine. The Xbox fans said everything was fine, but apparently not, as we see more and more first-party games head to other platforms like PlayStation, right? And then option 2, I get it as well, because that's what was promised, right? You want that same deal that was promised to you. You believed Phil, the used car salesman, that wasn't ever going to change. He said it wasn't going to change. He said nothing would be changing after the ABK deal, especially, but it did. So I can understand both viewpoints to a point, but a business is a business, and that's why option A is a thing, but it's, you know, over half the so-called fan base is very poignant, very, for the fact that it has those changes and why. But they are shilling. I think even if they were to increase it by a significant margin as far as the price, if they were to put more limitations or even more tiers, really just kind of finagling how that's working, I do see them shilling just as hard. It's not going to end. Until that ship does eventually crash or they ultimately go full third party, they're going to go down with the ship, folks. But let's go to the next example here. Estall. Ladies and gentlemen, here the so-called Forza killer, aka GT7. So yes, this is a very recent tweet from Estall. Why am I bringing this up? Well, because it's a video showing glitches on his post in regards to Gran Turismo 7 and how cars bounced around and flipped over this and that. So why I'm bringing this up is because they have nothing else to talk about. You'd think they'd be just kind of hammering down the Call of Duty being on Game Pass, even though it's one of the lowest rated new Call of Duties on there. And a lot of people are not happy with it, but that's the narrative they've been going with. So he's looking at bringing up Gran Turismo 7, trying to state, I'm sorry, okay, Forza Arcade, the arcade-ish version of Forza is actually a pretty solid game. But if you're referring to Gran Turismo 7 versus Forza Motorsport, I'm sorry, Gran Turismo does take this hands down, even if you have very small examples of bugs and glitches, because there's also those in Forza Motorsport as well. And it's been declared that Gran Turismo 7 is the better of the racing sims. Now, when we're comparing Gran Turismo 7 to the arcade version of Forza, of course, whatever the entry is at that point in time, but they're two different dogs in the fight, right? One is more arcade-like. Gran Turismo has been and always will be a simulation of racing games for those types of cars and whatnot, right? So it's two different things you're comparing, but if you're comparing here, which I think you are, Gran Turismo 7 to Forza Motorsport, hands down, that is not something you want to die on a hill of, just saying. But let's get over to another one here. I love the fact now Hector the Macho Man, he's been around. I had to nix him on my stuff because he can put out the heat, but he can't take it. Gets very upset. Does not like facts, delusion-based, all that stuff. Bunch of laughing emojis. I see why they are winning MPDs. So this is a false post, by the way. This is the Walmart post. As you can kind of see, they're talking about selling PlayStation 5 consoles. They've been in the warehouse for over 3 years and whose warranties expired. To avoid penalties from the manufacturer, our store, under the special guidance of Coach Tim, is offering the remaining consoles for only $9.95. Don't miss out on this amazing deal. So, as stupid as Hector is, not even I believe he thinks this is real, but if he does, then we need to get him some help as soon as possible. That being said, somebody that worked at Walmart way back in the day, and even to this day, I know a lot of folks that do work at Walmart, nobody's called coach for a position. Hey, so that's a dead giveaway. Number two, the obvious giveaway for everybody else out there, is that we know that PlayStation 5s are not sitting in a warehouse somewhere. If they were, if this were true, that means somebody mismanaged their inventory, and that's why that would happen. PlayStations are not sitting on shelves not being sold. There was a long time that they couldn't even keep them in stock, as we all know, because of COVID and this, that, and the other, and still couldn't stay in stock. The fact that they're trying to push a narrative that this is somewhat factual is absolutely insane. But thank goodness there are community notes out there on X itself, so at least there's that. But really poor trolling attempt, A, if it's trolling, and two, if you believe this is real, please go seek help. Simple as that. Let's keep going here. I want to wrap this up with one more here. We can't forget about Jez. Jez loves to put out the habitual, factual, do those two go together? I don't know. Types of comments and posts within Windows Central. But as you can see here, quoting, does Xbox hate money? And then, of course, the Deadpool Wolverine Xbox collab is infuriatingly what's wrong with Xbox marketing right now. And he has an opinion piece, of course, by Ricker666 on WindowsCentral.com with the post. Now, what's interesting is Xbox doesn't understand how marketing works, it seems. They don't understand how selling certain products, what that means for the company. It is mind-bogglingly weird, but the reason why I'm bringing this up is the fact that why is this new news? Xbox has been so hilariously bad with their marketing for so many years, well over 10 years at least. The marketing has been laughable. It's been weird. These collaborations with their consoles and their controllers, whether it be Oreos, Pringles, not joking, that's real. Everything else they had, Deadpool, Wolverine, any other collaboration they continue to have, it's weird because the only way you can get these, and Jez is right in this case, is the fact you have to enter sweepstakes, cross those fingers, be a good partner, or just be lucky enough to win those sweepstakes to get those, right? You would think they would put a limited edition amount of those out, set them up via their store or something like that. Doesn't even have to be in retail, just an online store, first come, first serve, or just continue to manufacture and make a good, marketing deal with these guys. You're gonna probably see good results from that, in my opinion. Wolverine and Deadpool stuff is gonna sell like hotcakes. Marvel stuff typically does. That's just how it works. But the fact that this is some revelation, you just need a piece to put into your your website for something to talk about. How about we talk about what's real there for once? Talk about holding them accountable. And I know this is kind of holding them accountable, but again, you're well over a decade late, and I don't think this is the first time you've talked about Xbox's marketing or the fact that they hate money or what the hell are they doing in the first place anymore, right? That's what's interesting to me. How about you write pieces, but I get it. You got to be kind of in the good graces to a point, but at the same time, be honest with yourselves and the fans out there. And then maybe if everybody started holding companies a little more accountable, you're going to see the benefits of holding companies accountable, because they have to, regardless of what anybody thinks out there. If enough of the consumers stand together and say certain things is enough bullcrap, they will change their tune. They need consumers. They do have to bend their knee to a certain point for consumers. We see it all the time. Simple. Simple. But that being said, we'll wrap up the video here, folks. I do appreciate you sticking around for the entirety of the video. Thank you. Of course, we are so close at this point in time. 1,963 subscribers out of the 2,000 subscriber goal. Folks, we're less than 40 subs away from that 2,000 subscriber goal. Absolutely amazing. Thank you all so much. I can't thank you enough. This is every day amazing. I just can't believe it. But thank you. I'm going to say it all the time, every time. But that being said, be sure to leave a like. Would love to hear from you down there in the comment section. Of course, that does both things of those, at least does help out the algorithm. If you haven't already, definitely consider subscribing. That also helps out a small content creator like myself. And of course, always remember, don't be a salty batch. And we'll see y'all next time on the next Xvault gaming video. And until then, take care.